Have you ever noticed how quickly the ground can vanish beneath your feet? One day, your life moves to a predictable rhythm. You know what is expected of you, you know where to go, and you know exactly who you are within the safety of your daily routine. And then, suddenly, it is gone. What if the quiet devastation you feel right now is not the end of your story, but the painful, necessary clearing of the ground? If you have recently watched the structure of your life collapse, if you are waking up feeling anxious, exhausted, unanchored, or entirely lost, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see this empty space forever. We build our lives on routines, a job that gave us a sense of purpose, a relationship that defined our evenings, a living situation, a physical ability, or a daily habit that made the unpredictable world feel safe and manageable. We do not just depend on these routines to fill our time, we weave our very identities into them. When you wake up into a silence that feels deafening, you wander through your days feeling out of place in your own life. You might find yourself staring at the clock, gripped by an anxious ache, thinking about what you used to be doing at this exact hour. Buddhist wisdom teaches that much of our suffering arises from attachment. We cling fiercely to the familiar because it offers us the comforting illusion of permanence. But one of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the truth of impermanence, the undeniable reality that all things must rise and fall, gather and scatter, begin and end. When we suffer the loss of a routine, we are not just mourning the past, we are fighting the reality of the present moment. Imagine a tree that has spent years wrapping its deep roots around a great stone. The stone provides stability, weight, and a sense of direction for the roots to follow. But one day, a violent storm shifts the earth, and the stone rolls away. For a long time, the roots remain curled in the exact shape of what is missing. They fiercely grip the empty space, waiting for the heavy stone to return. But a tree cannot survive by gripping the memory of a rock. Think about your own life right now. How much of your daily energy is spent mentally gripping the shape of what is gone? You might be judging yourself for feeling so profoundly lost. You may be rushing to replace the old routine, pressuring yourself to bounce back, to be productive, to prove that you are not falling apart. Ask yourself, are you trying to force your life back into a shape it can no longer hold? What are you afraid will happen if you simply admit that you do not know what to do next? Stop. Breathe. Let that sink in. You do not have to have all the answers today. You do not need to rebuild the entire house before nightfall. The first step in navigating the collapse of the familiar is simply to stop trying to hold the walls up after they have already fallen. Let the grief of the lost rhythm rise and pass without making it your identity, because peace is not found in desperately recreating what was taken from you. It is something you make space for by seeing things exactly as they are. But accepting the collapse is only the first step, and this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of the unchanging rhythm. What if the safety you felt in your old routine was always an illusion? Here is a truth that is difficult to face. No matter how perfect your habits were, no matter how tightly you organized your days, the ground beneath you was always moving. We spend so much of our lives trying to build a fortress against chaos. We wake up at the same hour, follow the same familiar paths, rely on the same faces, and expect our days to unfold with predictable certainty. We convince ourselves that if we just control our environment well enough, we can keep uncertainty at bay. But when that routine shatters, we feel completely betrayed by life. We begin replaying the past, desperately trying to figure out where things went wrong. We exhaust ourselves wishing we could rewind time, thinking that if we had just done one thing differently, we could have stopped the change from happening. In Buddhist thought, we are reminded that suffering multiplies when we demand permanence from a world that is defined by change. The concept of impermanence is not meant to be frightening. It is meant to set us free. Non-attachment does not mean you are not allowed to love your routines, your home, or the people in your daily life. It simply means understanding that every structure is temporary. The suffering you feel right now is not just the loss of the routine itself. It is the deep friction between how life actually is and how you demand it to be. Imagine a small wooden boat anchored securely in a gentle river. You sit in this boat for years, loving the view, the soft rocking of the water, and the absolute safety of that specific spot. But one day, a storm rolls in, the water rises, and the anchor line snaps. The boat is pulled into the rushing current. Instead of picking up the oars and steering, you spend all your strength looking backward, reaching frantically for the broken rope. You fight the water, terrified of the movement, exhausted by the futile effort of trying to drag the boat back upstream. Think about how you are treating your own life right now. Perhaps a long-term job ended unexpectedly, or a relationship shifted, or a sudden change in health completely altered what you can do each day. The anchor has snapped. Yet, instead of looking forward, you are looking at the broken rope. You scroll through social media, comparing your current instability to the seemingly perfect, unchanging lives of others. You feel behind. You feel like a failure because your days no longer look the way they used to. Ask yourself, are you fighting the current of your own life? Are you drowning not because the water is too deep, but because you are exhausted from trying to swim upstream to a place that no longer exists? Pause. Breathe. Observe the panic of the changing current without following it. You do not have to steer perfectly today. Stop trying to drag the boat backward. Do your part in this moment, and then release the outcome. Let the boat float for a little while. You are not powerless just because you are in motion. Peace is not found in an unbreakable anchor. It is found in learning how to navigate the water you are actually in. But realizing that you cannot go back often brings up a heavy, invisible burden. Because beneath our desire to return to the past is a profound exhaustion from fighting the present. And this is where the next truth begins. 3. The weight of fighting what is gone. What if the exhaustion you feel right now is not from the loss itself, but from the immense energy it takes to keep denying it? Here is a truth few people want to face. The tighter you hold on to the ghost of your past, the heavier your present becomes. You wake up in the morning, and before your eyes even fully open, the ache sets in. You realize once again that the day ahead is unfamiliar. You spend hours replaying the old routine in your mind. You look at the clock and tell yourself, I should be at my desk right now, or we should be having coffee together, or I should be moving with the energy I used to have. You fight the reality of your current morning by desperately comparing it to a morning that is already gone. This invisible, silent battle drains every drop of your spirit, leaving you too tired to actually live the day you are standing in. Buddhist wisdom teaches a profound lesson known as the 2 arrows. The first arrow is the painful event itself, the sudden change, the loss, the disruption of your life. We cannot avoid the first arrow. It is the nature of living. But the second arrow is the one we shoot into ourselves. It is our resistance to the pain. It is the agonizing story we tell ourselves that this should not be happening, that it is unfair, that we must fight reality. In Buddhist thought, much of our suffering comes from this second arrow. True acceptance is not giving up. It is the quiet courage to stop shooting yourself. Imagine a traveler whose beautiful home is destroyed in a fierce storm. Instead of walking forward to find new shelter, they dig through the wreckage, pull out a heavy, shattered wooden door, and carry it on their back as they journey onward. They walk for miles, stumbling and exhausted, carrying this ruined door because it reminds them of the safety they once had. They believe holding on to it honors their past, but it provides no shelter from the rain. It only breaks their back and keeps them from moving forward. Think about how this mirrors your own life. How often are you carrying the heavy, shattered door of your old routine? You are trying to navigate a new phase of your life, but you are weighing yourself down with expectations of who you used to be. You sit in your new, quiet reality, feeling angry that things are not as effortless as they were before. You judge yourself for lacking motivation, feeling hurt by your own harsh inner criticism, completely forgetting that you are actively carrying the heavy ghost of your past. Ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? Are your thoughts about how things should be bringing you peace, or are they feeding your fear and exhaustion? Pause, breathe, notice the weight you are carrying. You do not have to drag the past with you to prove it was important. Acknowledge the loss, but stop trying to force the door open when there is no longer a house behind it. Let the feeling of grief rise, without making it your identity. Because peace is not found in winning a fight against reality. It is found when you finally decide to put down the heavy weight. But dropping the past leaves you standing alone, in the quiet aftermath, face to face with yourself. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. Meeting yourself in the ruins. What if the most terrifying part of losing your routine is not the loss itself, but the deafening silence it leaves behind? Here is a truth that makes many of us want to look away. We often use our routines not just to organize our lives, but to hide from ourselves. When you have a demanding job, a packed schedule, or a relationship that requires all your emotional energy, you always have a place to direct your attention. You know exactly what to do to feel valuable. You can measure your worth by how much you accomplish, how well you perform, or how much someone else needs you. But when that structure collapses, the noise suddenly stops. You wake up on a Tuesday morning with nowhere to be and no one demanding your energy. You try to relax, but instead, an overwhelming anxiety grips you. You realize that without your tasks, your titles, and your daily motion, you do not know who you are. In Buddhist thought, much of our identity is wrapped in the ego, a fragile sense of self, built on external conditions, roles, and attachments. We convince ourselves that we are our jobs, our habits, or our social standing. When those external conditions vanish, the ego panics. It feels like a kind of death. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that this sudden emptiness is not a punishment. It is a profound, albeit painful, invitation to practice true mindfulness. It is the moment you stop doing and finally begin observing. Imagine a rushing river that has been flowing fiercely for years. The water moves so fast that it churns up mud, debris, and foam. You can only see the chaotic surface. But one day, the source of the river is diverted. The rushing water slows, and eventually, it becomes a completely still, quiet pool. Slowly, the mud settles to the bottom. For the first time, the water becomes perfectly clear, and you can see all the stones, the hidden depths, and your own reflection on the surface. Think about your own life right now. The rushing river of your routine has stopped, and the mud is beginning to settle. Instead of looking at the clear water, you are panicking. You reach for your phone, endlessly scrolling through social media just to create some noise. You try to invent new emergencies. You seek the approval of others, desperate for someone to tell you that you still matter. You are terrified of the stillness because, without the constant motion, you are forced to look at the insecurities, the exhaustion, and the neglected parts of your own soul that you have been ignoring for years. Ask yourself, are you running from the quiet because you are afraid of the person waiting for you in the silence? Who are you when you are no longer simply a function in someone else's world? Pause, breathe, stay in the stillness without trying to fix it. You do not need to fill the void immediately. Stop frantically searching for a distraction. Let the uncomfortable silence be exactly what it is. Sit with yourself. You are not empty just because your schedule is clear. You are simply meeting yourself, perhaps for the very first time in years. Because true dignity is not found in how busy you can remain. It is found in having the courage to stay with yourself when everything else has faded. But looking at this new, empty landscape can feel incredibly desolate. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The dignity of the empty space. What if the void you are so desperately rushing to fill is actually the safest place you could be right now? Here is a truth that goes against everything we are taught. Emptiness is not a failure, it is the beginning. When the structure of our life breaks down, we treat the resulting empty space like an emergency. We panic. We rush to apply for new jobs, force new social connections, or map out rigorous new daily plans before the dust has even settled. We feel an immense pressure to bounce back immediately, to prove to our family, our peers, and our own inner critic that we have not lost our edge. We look at the blank hours in our day and see them as evidence that we are falling behind in life. We feel deeply ashamed of the stillness, so we frantically clutter it with anything that looks like progress. In Buddhist thought, there is a deep reverence for emptiness. In the modern world, we misunderstand emptiness as a lack of value, a dark void, or a sign of failure. But Buddhism reminds us that emptiness is actually pure potential. It is the vast, open sky that allows the clouds to move. It is the space inside a bowl that makes it useful to hold water. If your life is completely full of old habits, there is no room for anything new to take root. The loss of your routine has created an empty space. This is not a void to be feared. It is a clearing to be respected. Imagine a vast field in the dead of winter. The harvest is over, the trees are bare, and the ground is covered in a thick, silent blanket of snow. To the rushing world, the field looks dead. It looks abandoned and completely unproductive. But beneath the frost, the earth is doing the most important work of all. It is resting. It is slowly breaking down the remnants of the past to create fertile soil for the future. If a farmer were to panic and try to force seeds into the frozen ground, they would simply die. The field must be allowed to remain empty until the season is ready to change. Think about your own life right now. You are in the winter of your routine, yet you are standing in the frozen field of your days, angry that nothing is growing. You look at others around you who are in the middle of their summer, achieving, moving, thriving, and you feel a crushing sense of inadequacy. You try to force a sudden personal transformation because you cannot bear the sight of your own bare soil. You feel exhausted not because you are broken, but because you are trying to harvest crops in the middle of the snow. Ask yourself, what if you allowed this phase of your life to just be empty for a little while? What if this pause is not a punishment for losing your way, but a quiet, necessary preparation for what comes next? Pause, breathe, look at the empty space in your life without rushing to fill it. You do not have to have a grand plan today. Stop apologizing for your winter. Give yourself permission to simply exist in the quiet. You do not need to prove your worth by how quickly you rebuild. There is profound dignity in standing in the empty space and allowing it to remain bare for a moment. Because peace is not found in forcing the season to change. It is found in trusting the silence of the snow. But the winter will not last forever, and soon you must take a single step forward in the cold. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. The courage to start where you actually are. What if the hardest part of rebuilding is not the effort it takes, but the humbling reality of where you have to begin? Here is a truth that stings our pride. You cannot start from where you used to be, and you cannot start from where you wish you were. You can only start from exactly where you are right now. When we lose the rhythm that once defined us, we often feel a deep, suffocating sense of shame. We look at the scattered pieces of our former routine and think, I used to be so far ahead. I used to be so disciplined. I used to be able to handle all of this. So, instead of taking a small, manageable step from our current place of exhaustion, we try to leap back to the mountaintop. We try to instantly return to our old demanding schedule, forcing ourselves to be perfectly productive, relentlessly social, or flawlessly composed. And when our tired spirit inevitably stumbles under that impossible weight, we feel even worse. We abandon our present selves because we are deeply embarrassed by our own vulnerability. In Buddhist thought, one of the greatest obstacles to inner peace is the refusal to accept the present reality. We create immense suffering by arguing with what is. Mindfulness is not just a tool for feeling calm, it is a practice of absolute, unwavering honesty. It means looking at your current state, your tiredness, your grief, your confusion, and gently saying, "This is where I am today." Buddhism reminds us that there is no shame in being broken, slow, or lost. The path to peace always begins exactly where your feet are planted. Imagine a seasoned traveler who has spent weeks climbing a steep, magnificent mountain. They are nearly at the summit when a sudden, unexpected rock slide sweeps them all the way back down into the shadowed valley. For days, the traveler stands in the dirt, looking up at the high cliffs where they used to be, feeling bitter and defeated. If they try to close their eyes and pretend they are still on the high ridge, they will trip over the very first stone in the valley. To move forward, they must stop staring at the sky. They must look down at the humble dirt, feel the weariness in their legs, and accept that they are at the bottom once again. Think about your own life right now. You are standing in the valley, but you are intensely judging yourself by the standards of the summit. You are frustrated that simply waking up and facing the morning is difficult. You feel foolish because completing a single basic task now takes all of your energy. You might feel a sting of humiliation when you admit to others or to yourself that you are starting over. You are punishing your present tired self because you are too busy mourning the version of you that lived at the top of the mountain. Ask yourself, are you denying yourself grace simply because you are at a new beginning? What if you offered this current, exhausted version of yourself compassion instead of harsh criticism? Pause, breathe. Acknowledge your exact location in life without a shred of judgment. You do not need to leap back to the finish line today. Stop demanding perfection from a spirit that is currently healing. You are here, in the valley, and that is completely okay. You do not have to abandon yourself just because your circumstances have changed. There is profound dignity in looking honestly at the rubble and choosing not to look away. But looking at the rubble means that eventually you must bend down and pick up a single stone. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Laying the first stone with gentle hands. What if the most powerful action you can take right now is the one that feels completely insignificant? Here is a truth the anxious mind often rejects. True rebuilding does not begin with a sudden, massive leap. It begins with a slow, quiet whisper. When we finally accept that our old routine is gone, our immediate instinct is to rush the reconstruction. We want a grand, sweeping solution to wipe away the discomfort of the present. We try to draft a perfectly optimized daily schedule, hoping a sudden burst of extreme discipline will instantly fix how lost we feel. And when we inevitably stumble, when we only manage to make a cup of tea, or take a short walk, or just sit quietly by a window, our inner critic screams that it is not enough. We feel foolish. We abandon these small, tender moments of self-care because they do not immediately solve the larger problem of our broken lives. Buddhist wisdom teaches the profound value of mindful presence and gentle discipline. It reminds us that worrying about the distant, unbuilt future only pulls us away from the reality of right now. One of the core practices of mindfulness is giving absolute, compassionate attention to the single, mundane task in front of you. Washing a single bowl, sweeping a single floor, taking a single breath. When we judge our current humble efforts as being too small, we are violently attaching ourselves to an imagined future rather than caring for the reality of our present selves. Imagine a person trying to rebuild a beautiful stone wall that was entirely leveled by a violent storm. If they stand back and stare at the vast, scattered ruin, they will fall to their knees in despair. The task is too big. If they try to lift massive, heavy boulders all at once to speed up the process, they will only crush their own hands. But a master builder does not look at the whole ruined wall. They bend down, pick up one single small stone, and brush off the dirt. They place it carefully on the ground. They do not demand that this single stone become a whole wall. They only ask it to be a foundation. Think about your own life right now. You are staring at the vast ruin of your old daily routine, paralyzed by everything you are not doing. You harshly judge yourself for struggling to complete basic tasks like answering a simple message, making a warm meal, or simply getting out of bed. You tell yourself that because you are not functioning at full capacity, whatever small effort you make today is pointless. You are refusing to lay a single stone because your pride is angry that the whole wall is not already standing. Ask yourself, are you refusing to take one small step of self-care because your ego demands a giant leap? What if doing one tiny, gentle thing for yourself today is exactly enough? Pause, breathe. Pick up one small stone and place it gently. You do not have to fix your entire life before sunset. Stop bullying yourself for moving slowly. Just do the next small, right thing, and do it with profound kindness toward yourself. Because peace is not found in the sudden, miraculous completion of the wall. It is found in the careful, quiet placement of a single stone. But as you slowly begin to move forward in this new reality, you will notice a deep shift in how you hold the world. And this is where the final truth begins. 8. Becoming the water, not the riverbed. What if the loss of your routine was never meant to break you, but to softly set you free? We began this journey by looking at the devastation of the collapsing familiar, the deafening silence of waking up to a life that no longer runs on its usual tracks, the anxiety of feeling completely untethered, grasping for a rhythm that has already faded. But as we have moved through the illusion of the unchanging past, the heavy burden of fighting reality, and the quiet dignity of the empty space, a deeper truth begins to emerge. You are not the routine you lost. We spend so much of our lives pouring our identity into the structures we build. We believe that we are our jobs, our relationships, our daily habits, and our strict schedules. So when those things vanish, we feel an agonizing sense of self-abandonment. But in Buddhist thought, true freedom is found in the realization that your core essence is completely untouched by the changing conditions of the world. The practice of non-attachment is not about giving up your life. It is about finally understanding that you do not disappear just because your circumstances change. Imagine a river that has flowed through the exact same deep, carved canyon for a lifetime. The water knows every curve of the rock, every dip in the valley. But one day, a massive landslide alters the earth, completely blocking the old path. If the water believes it is the riverbed, it will crash against the fallen rocks in despair, stagnate, and eventually dry out. But the water is just water. It pauses. It gathers itself in the new, unfamiliar space, and eventually it softens, rises, and finds a completely new way forward. The water does not lose its nature just because the shape of the earth has changed. Think about your own life as you stand in the rubble of what used to be. You have been treating yourself as the broken riverbed. You have been looking at the blocked path and weeping for the shape of the rocks. But you are the water, the schedule, the role, the habit those were. Just the structures that held you for a little while. They were never you. You can rebuild without abandoning yourself, because your true self was never made of rigid rules and forced productivity. It is made of the quiet, enduring dignity that survives the collapse. Ask yourself, what would happen if you finally stopped fighting the new shape of your life? What if you allowed yourself to flow gently into this new reality, trusting that you are still completely whole? You do not have to have it all figured out today. You do not need to be the person you were yesterday. Give yourself the immense grace to start exactly from where you are, in the valley, in the empty space, laying one small stone at a time. Trust the silence of this new chapter. Trust your own enduring spirit. The old routine may be gone, but you are still breathing, and you have not lost yourself. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. Let life meet you where you are.